Hey everybody, before we get started, I just want to remind you this episode is brought to you by our patrons like Ahaga Comics, Qua, Drago66, and Nestor Flores. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it would really help us out. Thanks for your support, everybody. Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk FGO Wanted. In case you can't tell by the thumbnail, the video title, and that intro, we're going to talk about Quetzalcoatl today. And this is your Let's Talk FGO Wanted, the show where we talk about if you want to roll specific 5 stars. Sometimes permanent ones, but other times limited ones, and story locks, like today. Yes, Ketz is a story lock. Also, I'm going to be using Ketz a lot. Luco is fine, but I actually, watch Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. That's like a thing I enjoyed. And so they're separate to me. Anyway, one of them was first. So, let's go ahead and outline this real quick. In case you've forgotten, or this is your first time watching Wanted, we basically break this down into 4 segments. We talk about their real-life mythology and folklore. We talk about their capital L lore and fate, if it exists. We talk about the mechanics of the character, and then we talk about their rarity. Not their star rarity, but how frequent their rate-ups are. And, of course, other considerations like, well, this character's actually permanent. Oh, this character's a story lock, which means you're super fucked. And lots of other things. By the way, this is also your pseudo-news desk about the fact that the Babylonian 2 banner comes out. I'm sorry if you're watching this public, and it's a day after the banner started. But for some unknown reason, FGO decided to just, throw up the news that the banner was coming at, midnight yesterday as of the time I'm recording it. We're, 8 or 9 hours before it starts, I think, for me. So, yeah, they didn't give me enough fucking time. I probably could have made some guesses, but yeah. Luckily, I have plenty of warning that Solomon's coming out and that Merlin's coming next week, so that video will be on time. I'm just going to die writing the Solomon Singularity pre-game notes on Let's Talk FGO. Be sure to tune into Let's Talk FGO to continue listening to my suffering. Anyway, we're at 2 minutes, so let's cut the intro. Let's talk about Quetzalcoatl. So nominally, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, is a major deity to the Aztecs, and also is syncretized with a couple of other deities in Mesoamerica, like Kukulkan. Quetz is a very important god to the Mesoamericans. He is the god of wind and of wisdom, patron god of priests, is associated with the morning star, with fertility cycles and the calendar. Similar to Ishtar, who we talked about on Wanted previously, Quetzalcoatl is a god associated with bringing civilization to mankind, such as giving them maize and the calendar and other things. Very important god, sometimes considered a god of war because of his association with Venus, which is a very important calendar thing. And actually, depending on the time in the mythology, Quetzalcoatl is either the evening star or the morning star or both, as kind of like a syncretized deity, because sometimes he's a twin. Because of one of their more famous legends, which I'll talk about in a second, Quetzalcoatl is also associated with resurrection, and can be associated with the sun. Quetzalcoatl was known for going into the underworld and created mankind, so they are a creator deity. Quetzalcoatl has a lot of origin stories. In some cases, it seems like Quetzalcoatl is some cases of virgin birth, or other cases unusual mixtures of things. Has several different parents, and many other things. Quetzalcoatl is known for their rivalry with Tezcatlipoca. Sorry, there's a lot of consonants at random in there. A much more sinister god, who is the god of night, deceit, sorcery, death, etc., is considered a major rival. And yes, FGO is not entirely wrong. Depending on the interpretation, Quetzalcoatl has been seen as against human sacrifice, but also sometimes practicing it. Personally, my, armchair archaeologist in me says that probably, especially as Quetzalcoatl is considered the patron god of the priests, that depends on what the priests feel like. But, hey, it's not completely unoriginal. One of the more famous situations of Quetzalcoatl is a legend you probably know if you've watched Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, where Tezcatlipoca got Quetzalcoatl drunk on alcohol, and while drunk, he cavorted with his sister, Quetzalcoatl. Yeah, there's a TL in there. Sorry, my Nahuatl pronunciation's not great. But she was a celibate priestess, and they neglected their religious duties, which most academics conclude implies incest. And then Quetzalcoatl was filled with shame, climbed in a stone chest, and lit himself on fire. And then the ashes rose to become the morning star. So kind of a death and rebirth thing. And historically, the legend was that Quetzalcoatl would return. So that's kind of why there was this concern later when the conquistadors came. Because they were like, oh, are these weird, powerful white dudes gods? Also, Quetzalcoatl is represented by a lot of animals associated with monkeys, harpy eagles, rattlesnakes, the actual coatl, serpent, and quetzals, a type of bird. And if you put quetzal and coatl together, you get a feathered serpent. Yes, and yes, as I said, Quetzalcoatl is associated with Venus. So, in Fate, no spoilers yet, obviously, but Quetz is since she's story-locked, is a major player in the Babylonia chapter. You learn pretty quick that there's this thing called the Three Goddess Alliance going on. Quetz is part of that. A very powerful contender who is seen throughout the entire storyline. Very friendly and interesting. We won't go into details, but yeah, it's a big deal. And obviously, also, as has just been started in JP, a welfare version of Quetz, the Samba/Santa Quetz, is associated with the new Christmas event, so she's a Christmas welfare. So I am sure she is getting much more story attention in that form there. But that's the thing. The important thing to note about Quetzalcoatl as a servant is that she is explicitly described as a bunrei, the same type of entity that Tamamo is at her core. An avatar or an offshoot of the original Quetzalcoatl god, probably because Quetzalcoatl can reincarnate and stuff like that, or is associated with death and rebirth. I haven't done super deep research into the Aztec theology. FGO says that there's some kind of association that the Aztec gods move through bodies and vessels. That I'm not so sure about. I'd have to do more research, but that is one possible justification for why Quetz is a female in this. Also, personally, I just think the bunrei excuse that this is an offshoot avatar, and they say in story that because of our association with Venus as... Well, I mean, the name Venus is the Latin name for Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty. So there's a certain feminine association with Venus now in our collective unconsciousness that may have shaped this vessel of Quetzalcoatl. All right, everybody got that. Hope everybody found that fun. Oh, and if you're curious why Quetz is obsessed with Lucha, I don't know. She thinks it's cool. That's basically it. As a sky deity, the high-flying, technico-style stuff is cool to her. And it's also a major Mexican thing, so, it's culturally imprinted on her. I don't know. They thought it would be cool. It's a cool gimmick, but that's very much an FGO thing. So, mechanics. So, mechanically, Quetz is a 5-star rider. It's, pretty plain to see to you. You can see that her attack and HP stats are fairly evened out, and her attack is, in fact, the highest of the 5-star riders. Stat-wise, she basically just barely edges out Oz. Her HP is then consequently middle of the pack. Huge star weight, typical for riders. You're looking at that MP chart, and you're like, ooh, that's a lot. Well, look at her deck. So she's got 2 arts cards and a quick, and she's got a couple busters. She got a saber-type deck. With only 2 and 3 hits, she's going to need that high NP stat line to actually gain NP. And in fact, she's probably not... even then, probably still wants a little bit of help. She does have a skill to help with this, which we will talk about in a second. But, yeah, you're going to need a little work on that. But, riders do okay. And if she crits, that's pretty good. Single target NP Buster applies 1 turn of NP seal. Not a big deal, but, if you're timing out your effects, that's pretty good. It applies burn to the target for 5 turns, and then overcharge increases your burn damage. So it starts at 1,000, and it goes all the way up to possible 3,000. There are nastier damage over time effects, but considering that she has a very great attack, right, it's already pretty good for her. And when you look at her skills and her deck setup, she can combo into an NP Buster if you like, and pull that off pretty well. Skills. She increases all allies' attacks for 3 turns. Charisma A+, solid choice. The top level charisma, 3 turns out of 5, 21%. Solid, little generic, but solid. Wisdom of the Benevolent God applies guts to 1 ally for 1,000 HP for 3 turns, and then increases an ally's Buster card effectiveness for 3 turns up to 30%, probably because it's targetable. with a 7-turn cooldown. This skill, I want to say, is not great. It's good, but not great, I think is a fair way. It starts at 20% Buster Up, that's pretty good. Goes to 30%, that's okay. It's targetable. But I think the fact that it's a 1000 HP Guts for 3 turns really hurts the cooldown. And honestly, Quetz really doesn't need to be supporting others, right? Like, the fact that her Charisma helps out a team is great. But mostly you're probably going to use this on herself, because her HP is not its maximal level, and she's Buster focused, so you're going to want to do the NP steroid, but the cooldown hurts. Third skill, Lucha Libre, EX. Increases your critical star gather rate for 1 turn, increases your crit strength for 1 turn, increases your NP gauge. The absorption is not usually necessary since she's a rider, they're the toppest tier, but if you're building a team with all other riders, or you have some other kind of star manipulation effect, it helps. The big thing here is it's an up to 50% crit buff and an up to 30% NP battery with a 6-turn cooldown. So obviously what you're gonna want to play here is you're gonna want to gen a lot of stars somehow, and then you're gonna want to drop NP Buster, pop the skill into your NP, you know, and drop all your stuff on yourself, and you will bring some serious pain. Quetz is for killing bosses, and she will bring some smackdown this way. Personally, looking at her active skills, while the kit isn't bad, I don't like that they have all different cooldowns, and her Wisdom of the Benevolent God suffers for the fact that I think that it's a targetable Guts to an ally with a decent actual amount of heal and duration. Yeah, considering that it's not that great of a Buster buff, it's only 30%, you know? I mean, it's for 3 turns, that's pretty typical, but still, it's like, okay, so I can put it on somebody else. Mostly you'll be putting it on Quetz, and then that kind of suffers, right? So, that said, it's still a decent synergized setup. It does damage. You can actually support other members, so she's not 100% selfish. But she can still be selfish if she needs to be. Passive skills, Magic Resistance A. Solid choice. Riding EX, get the most out of that quick attack. So that means her 1 quick card will be hitting pretty decently. And then Core of the Goddess EX, increase your debuff resistance by a further 30%, so that's a total 50% debuff resist. A great choice for a damage dealer. And increases your damage dealt by 300. All in all, a good set. If you're looking for CEs, I think it's pretty obvious. Anything that does NP Buster or crit. You know, with her stats, it's not quite like, Jolter level crazy stuff going on, right? But, I mean, she has a Buster up. She has a Star Gen and Critical Strength Generator, right? Like, it's a similar type of kit. So, basically, anything that gives her more NP damage, more Buster damage, more crit damage. Any of those will work. And Team Comp is just the same. Just, you want to stick her with a Star Generator because her deck doesn't really suit that too much. And, a Buster stuff. Hey, they fucking announced Merlin. Hey, guess what he's great at? Busters and crits. And I think that's all there is to say about the mechanics. Let's talk about her rarity. So, obviously, number 1, Quetzalcoatl is a story lock. If you have completed the Babylonia chapter, she's available at any time in the story summon. That said, rolling story summon for specific 5 stars is kind of a sucker's bet. Probabilistically, it should not happen. If it does happen to you, consider yourself very lucky, but don't complain to me in the comments about that, because that's... Listen, I'm talking about, like, high-level objective terms. I don't know your life, but statistically speaking, it's not likely. That said, she's going to be in the Babylonia campaign 2, which, by the time this is public, will have already started, but for patrons, obviously, it's starting tonight. She will be available in all further class-based summon campaigns, because she's a story lock, so, that's pretty typical. Because she's a major Singularity character, she will also be in the upcoming Anniversary banners, probably, we can assume. Whatever our version of the 9 million downloads campaign, where Ishtar returns, will also have Quetz as a raid up. She will be available in the next new Valentine, not next year's Valentine's per se, but the new Prosperous Chocolate Gardens of Valentine event, which will be in a couple years. It was earlier this year in Japan. And of course, when Holy Samba Night occurs, she will be part of that banner along with the 2 Marthas and the Lancer Bradamante. And that's basically it, guys. Hopefully that was all the details you want to know. If you're not super sold on Quetz, go ahead and, play the story more if you see if you like her or not. You got some great options to try her out and meet her, and also unlock her. And in general, like if you've already got Ozymandias, they're very similar, though their distribution is kind of different. Like, Oz has a great synergy kit with the fact that he increases your whole team's optional buffs. But they're very similar in terms of what they do. So if you get one or the other, you know, you don't need the other one unless you want them. And, well, that's it then. I'll see you guys next time. Keep an eye out for Let's Talk FGO Wanted. Keep an eye out for... Well, not Wanted. Well, yeah, keep an eye out for Wanted Merlin, I should say. And keep an eye out for the regular episode of Let's Talk FGO, where we may or may not talk about some 4 stars this week, and maybe a 3-star. I'm sorry, I can't commit to that right now, but we're going to have a busy show because of the news announcements, and I don't know if I have enough time to do all this stuff. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like. If you have any comments besides the comments I told you not to post, leave them in the comment section down below. You can also check out our Discord. The link is in the description. It's a great way to hang out with people and yell about stuff. And if you are new here and have not already, please subscribe to the channel. And also don't forget to that bell for notifications, even if you're already subscribed, so you always know when we post a video. And of course, like it says at the top of the show, you can also consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early, a whole day early. It was totally timely for patrons, I swear. And lots of other goodies, such as audio downloads to all our Let's Talk FGO shows, and more. And it would really help us out. Alright, Mucha Lucha, everybody.